Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Daryl Crow. It's Monday morning, and it's time for our weekly art tips for brand new beginning art students. We love helping out all of our new students learn how to paint and paint better. That's why we offer on our website at www.darylcrow.com/videos a nice 60-day free lesson that just covers about everything we know how to paint. And if you got a question, be sure to send it to me at daryl@darylcrow.com. Now today I have with me Joe Kaczynski.
Hi Daryl, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Now did we happen to get any questions for this week, or can I just go home and play ping pong all day?
Yeah, you wish you could. We have 10 questions from last week. The first one, actually, she's got 2 questions, is from Cleta from Australia.
Ah, okay.
Question number 1 is, can I ask, why do you have reflections from the banks, and how do you lighten them? Mine is way too dark. That's question number 1.
Well, let me go ahead and address that. The reason I put in a lot of my paintings, not every one of them, is that the clearer the water is, or the more still, less movement that you see, it seems like everything surrounding it, especially on bright sunny days or just slightly cloudy days, you can see everything. It's just like seeing a photograph and then seeing a perfect photograph underneath, reflection. And the reasons why I'll reflect some of the banks is because I see it when I look at the photos. So I like to paint what I see. And then I always decide, do I want to put everything I see into the painting? Now, a lot of the reasons that people get very dark banks is because they pull down the base colors and they do not pull down the highlight colors, so the banks look a little dark. But that's okay. You're not pulling the banks down very, very far. And when you put those little water lines right through, right at the bottom of the banks, then that helps separate, and it also shortens the darker reflection. But if you need to lighten it, then you highlight it just by taking a little bit of the lighter surface color of the bank and pulling it straight down across that whole length, and then the horizontal strokes for blending. And that's on my Waters videos as well, in both the basic techniques of oil painting and acrylic. And we show, actually we show both of them on our YouTube video. So scout around on our YouTube channel and you'll see those 2 tips.
Okay, and the second question from Cleta is, where is a good place to sign your name when you're painting?
Excellent question. The one place that I do not recommend is in the sky. And the reason the reason is I've had a lot of young students, and they're so proud of their work that right across the biggest cloud in big, bright 2-inch letters, they sign Jack, Mac, and their name. And I think, you know, that's proud. They really, every time someone does that, I say, wow, you really like that painting. But in general, most artists sign it on the lower portion of the bottom of the canvas, at least 1/3 of an inch high, because the last 1/4 inch of the frame, all the way around, of the canvas all the way around, is for what we call frame space. So you want to be higher than that, probably by 1/4 of an inch. So you're probably looking anywhere from 1/3 of an inch to 1/2 an inch along the bottom. It could be the left side, it could be the right side, it could be the center. More important is the color that you use. Do not use white, but use anything else that doesn't blend in but stands out in your painting, because you really want people to see how you sign. Those were 2 great questions, Cleta. Thank them. You and I have communicated a lot before, and I think you're a lovely artist.
Okay, and our next question is from 23 Sandalwood. That's all I have here for the email address. I've got a question, Daryl. How do you use gesso with oil paints?
Okay, the thing about gesso and oil paint is never use them together at the same time. Okay, gesso is typically the first thing you put down on a canvas. Now, if all you're doing is putting down a background color, and gesso comes in a lot of different colors, but I primarily use black, white, and gray. And you put that down on the canvas, whether you're covering the whole canvas or a portion or shapes, let it dry. Then after it's totally dry, which takes at least 20 to 30 minutes, then you put a thin, even coat of medium across the surface, and then you paint strictly with the oil. But that's how they work together. Good question.
Okay, our next question is from Joanne from California.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Daryl. I'm enjoying your videos. Been using canvas pad sheets. Need to know if you have to glue them onto a board or not. Also, if they have to be glued before you paint.
Well, I don't glue mine to a board, okay? I use my canvases from the canvas pad, the canvas paper, as primarily a practice, or if I'm trying to work out something new that I've not done before. And the way I do that is I get a canvas the same size, and I use only a couple of sizes of the canvas pad. One is 16 by 20 and the other is 11 by 14. And I have canvases those sizes. And what I'll do is thumbtack the four corners of the canvas paper to the canvas itself. That way I have the same spongy feel and the exact same feel as I would with a canvas. And then when I'm done, I just toss them away. However, I have noticed that now and then some of my students say, oh, I want to have that. And that's when gluing it to a hard surface. It could be masonite, it could be plywood, it could be any foam board, whatever you like. And you'd have to use the adhesive that will take paper and glue to whatever properties of that surface that you're using. If you're using canvas board, I really don't know why. I've never done that, so I would probably start off with something like Gorilla Glue, and that's supposed to work on just pretty much everything. So in any case, I just want to take a minute, Joe, and introduce everybody to one of my long students. What do you think about that?
That's fine. Why don't we do that?
Come on up here, Stanley. Now, folks, I've got to tell you, Stanley is one of the brightest young students that I've ever had, and he just happens to be visiting our studio today. So, Stanley, I'd like to say welcome to the Daryl Crow Studios and to our YouTube channel. How you doing?
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Daryl.
Now, how long have you been painting?
I've been painting with Daryl Crow since 2004.
You learn anything?
I learned a lot. many areas of oil painting.
We have a lot of students here. It's the first time they've ever seen these tips and videos who are wondering, can they really do it? Can they really paint? What do you think?
Yes, you can really do it.
So even if you've never held a paintbrush before, you can actually do it?
Yes.
You say that confidently, like you actually paint now.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been painting for a while with Daryl Crow for a long time.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Stanley.
You're welcome.
Come on by any other time. All righty, folks. I couldn't resist that. Stanley comes over once in a while, and he's really coming over here to see Champ, our Cocker Spaniel, not me. Anyway, thank you, Stanley. All right, Joe, you said there were at least one more question?
All right, Joanne's got another one. Other question, which is the best oil paint to use that is good? She's been using water mixable oil paint. She likes it all except for the wet on wet, which she's had problems with. She tried liquid white, it did okay, but found out later that it shouldn't be used with water mixable paint. So a lot of her paintings are not good enough to sell, or they will not last long. So your answer to this question would be of great help to me.
Okay, well, I have gone along. I like using liquid white and magic white and medium white and all of the whites that are manufactured by all these different wonderful manufacturers. And but my preference with the water mixable oil paint is pretty much to take just a little bit of white, like titanium white, mix it into medium to create a substitute for those oil-based mediums. The main thing to remember, okay, there's a lot of different brands out there with water mixable oil paint. They all work really, really well. I have not come across. So I was asked about Holbein. That is an excellent paint. Grumbacher, Winsor Newton. One of my all-time favorites has been the Martin F. Weber W oils. And there's a really good reason for that. And it's one of the reasons why I've suggested that if you have a lot of oil paints and you're trying to migrate from oil painting or from acrylics over to water mixable oils, W oils, which is the brand name for the Martin F. Weber paints, will allow you to mix up to 40% of acrylics or up to 40% of the oil. So you're able to facilitate a tremendous migration and take your time converting over to oil paint. So that's how I base these, but it's actually which is the best oil of the water mixable oils. I could not tell you because they all work pretty well. And those are pretty much the ones that I have tested.
All right, that seems like a very good answer. Our next question is from Christopher. And he says, hi, Darryl. Do you have any preference between natural hairbrushes and synthetics?
Yes, it depends on what mediums I'm using. If I'm using oils, I do not use synthetic brushes at all when I'm doing landscapes and seascapes and etc. because what I find is that the synthetics will tend to dig a little deeper into the oil paints than I would prefer. Now, when you start to use a little bit of water, such as water mixable oils or acrylics, then synthetic brushes seem to work fairly well. Or if your oil painting is dry, you dry it between stages, then synthetics will work pretty well. But in general, I like the feel of natural hair. I like the way natural hair works. And so I tend to use that, and that is more of a personal preference. Okay, Joe.
That's unlike the natural hair on your head, then, basically, is what you're saying.
Okay, the audience should be prepared for that.
Right. Okay. I just had to throw that in. Okay.
Okay.
Next question from Linda. What's the most useful brush or tool for your oil painting?
Well, for my oil painting, the most useful brush is the one I have in my hand. And but we did a video on what's the minimal set of brushes that I recommend, and it's on YouTube channel, isn't it, Joe?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, that is the minimal set. There's no one brush that I prefer to use over all the other brushes because it depends on what I'm doing. But there's a minimal set, which would be a large brush, either 1 inch or 2 inches wide. There's the black-handled oval brush, or what I call a big filbert. There's a number 3 fan brush, an aligner brush, and my number 10 palette knife. Those are my indispensable, and as well as a number 4 flat bristle brush. But in general, the principle I'd like to convey to each one of you is you should be able to do any painting with any brush. Now, a liner, I grant, will take you a lot longer than a 2-inch brush. But if you can pretty much paint everything with each of the brushes, then you're getting a good handle. And I've done some of these landscape paintings, Joe, with my knife.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, when I got through with it, I didn't like it. I took out my knife and got rid of it.
Yep.
Oh, that was bad, wasn't it?
That was very good, actually. It's just a question of getting used to your tools and practice, practice, practice. I've heard you say that on more than one occasion, I think.
Yeah, that was yesterday when you were, oh, never mind.
Okay. Next question from Grant.
Grant.
I have an oil painting that I started quite a few months ago and now would like to finish it up. Can I just finish it up, or is there something I must do first?
Okay, Joe, we have right in on our website, darrylcrow.com, in fact, on any of our 16 websites, something called Painting Tips. And in there is an article that talks about how I can come back to my painting, and it's a very thorough treatment. But let me, Grant, for just the next couple of seconds, give you an idea of what I'm summarizing. First off, you can come back to any painting and improve it or finish it at any time you want. You need to wet with medium, and that's lightly, the areas in which you're going to paint. Now, if you're going back over and what you want to do is highlight foliage, then what you'll need to do is stain the top with some green so that your highlights will mix in with the underneath color. Even though it's dried, that stain will help you out quite a bit. And so there's some general techniques like that that you can use. And if you go right onto our website, onto the painting tips, you're going to find a bunch of categories of different landscape techniques, seascape techniques, how to use brushes and mediums and paints and so forth. And we give several articles on how you can come back to your painting. It's quite a useful library, Joe.
Yes, it certainly is. It's a wealth of information that's freely available, by the way, which is good.
Yeah, there's over 2,000 articles there.
Now, the next question is, I believe we covered this 2 weeks ago, but I'll read it to you. This is from Peggy. What is your best ideas on keeping acrylics moist and blendable for a long period? I teach, but I paint slowly.
Yeah, absolutely. I paint slowly too. And one of the things that I try to teach my students is how they can extend through the use of a spray bottle and through the use of an unlocking formula if you have an interactive set of paints. One of the companies that I'm familiar with and I really love their interactive paints, their interactive acrylic paints, is Chroma. They're an Australian company and they have U.S. offices as well. I know at least on the East Coast, and Jennifer is their resident artist, and she's absolutely brilliant in helping students learn how to use the interactive paints. But if you are interested in moving the drying times of your paintings to 2 hours and beyond, view our video. That was 2 weeks ago that we did that. So I think you'll find that very informative because we explain the entire process of why acrylics dry and the different steps you can take to keep the paints moist, to keep the surface moist, and to keep the blending properties of the acrylic paints going.
Okay, our next question.
Wow, Joe, you're right. There are a lot of them.
This is going to be a little lengthy, but Christine
Yes.
has made, is talking about acrylic painting lesson, Cape Lighthouse Day 2 of 10 that we have on YouTube. First part of the question, what are mop and hockey brushes?
Mops and hockey brushes are very, very soft brushes made out of either cloth or something like camel's hair or goat's hair. They're very long, they're very, very soft, and they generally can blend brush strokes out of a painting without moving the paint along at all. And I like using them for clouds and water mist and fogs and just setting in the background if I'm doing a floral, tall ships, the waves, and so forth.
Second part of Christine's question is, do you give a paint color list?
Yes, Joe, right on our website, all of our websites, we have a section there called the store, and you can go ahead and click on that and it will give you, what different types of DVDs we have, and they also have an art supply list. And in that art supply list, we list all the colors we use and which ones we use for wildlife, which ones for landscapes, seascapes, flowers, and so forth. So you find that on any of ours, but DarylCrow.com is the one that's been around for 15 years now.
Okay, the third question is, what did you prime the canvas with in step 1?
And that's step 1 of the Cape...
Of the Cape Lighthouse.
Okay.
Day 2, but step 1 of it, I can't.
Yeah, I got you. Primarily, I prime canvases with gesso. And I will use a light misty gray color unless I'm going to a really dark canvas, then I'll use black gesso. Now you can also prime your canvases with an acrylic color. If you want a very dramatic sky, for instance, you may use combinations of yellows, reds, and oranges to prime your canvas and the water a darker color, and then add your oil paints over that. So it's pretty much unlimited, but I believe for that canvas, I used the light misty gray.
Now the last one.
Oh,
what
boy.
is in the spray bottle?
I use 2 spray bottles, not just one. And I use one for water and one for unlocking formula. Now, if you haven't ever worked with unlocking formula, realize the unlocking formula I use is for keeping or reopening the wet properties of acrylic paint manufactured by Chroma. They're called the Adler Interactive Acrylic Paint. I have not experimented with them to see if they work with any others because Chroma manufactured their interactive acrylic paint with a private, copyrighted, patented formula, and so that they will become tacky rather than form a hard skin across the surface of the acrylic paints when they dry. So that's what I do. Now, any acrylics will benefit from using the light mist spray of water in keeping them open, and you can keep the paints open there depending on what you're doing, up to about 45 minutes to an hour.
Very good. Now the next one, the last one here is, this is from Dina. Here's my question. Do you have a favorite supplier for the canvases for your classes?
Well, there's an online company that I do business with, but I want to be honest with you. You're going to get your best deals probably at your local shops like Hobby Lobby. I've got two of them here, Michael's and AC Moore, and then not far from here is Ultract and Pearl. And I just monitor their prices on canvas, because if you order online somewhere and they ship them to you at the bulk price they have, by the time you get through paying with shipping costs at today's rate, you could be just like retail price before you're going, and that's terrible for you if you're a teacher and you're reselling these canvas. So I keep my eyes open, and I find a lot of good sales. They have 40–50% coupons by pack of 6 canvas. There's a store local here that sells 11 by 14. They'll sell 7 in a pack for $19.95. But once in a while, they hold those 40 and 50% sales, and that's when I stock up. And just keep your eyes open. That's the best way, and that's my best method of getting canvas.
I also just found a second page from Dina, which is really beautiful. Hi, Darryl. You set me up to be a hero in my daughter's eyes. You may recall that my daughter Becky's majoring in art, and her strengths at this point are drawing and sculpture. I think she has a fair hand with oils and acrylics as well. Here's the story. I stumbled across a couple of canvas-covered photo frames I purchased a few years back but never opened. I had a couple of photos I took at the Thanksgiving gathering at my cousin's. Since I'll be visiting him in the hospital this week, I thought it'd be nice to take something to him. He's going to be enduring cancer treatment soon, unfortunately. So I did these in acrylics and applied the techniques I learned from your video, The Fence. I asked my daughter, who was home for the weekend, what she thought. She wanted clouds. So while she was recovering from the spinal tap, yes, we spent the weekend in ER checking for causes for a seriously nasty migraine. Oh, wow. God bless you, Dean. I hope it all works out for you. I used the techniques you taught me on clouds. Took the frames into her room and showed her, and she lit up. Mom, I love these clouds. I wish I could do clouds like that. Well, guess what? I can teach her how to do those clouds thanks to you, Darryl. Blessings.
Well, thank you, Dean. That's a beautiful story. I hear stories a lot about people who have taken that step, taken that chance, and started to paint. Not only did they watch these YouTube videos, but they started to paint. We have some lessons here, and they started to do those. And their family just really brightens up when they see those, and that's reward enough for me. A lot of people ask, why do we do these YouTube videos? That's why.
And Scott also has a nice little comment that I want to share. It's I wanted to tell you, I've learned patience and how important mediums are from you. Has made a big difference for me. Highlights, bushes and things. Plus the small end of the regular knife. Wow. Whole new world. Journey's been fun. Gonna be a long, fun one.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And you know, Scott is absolutely dead on, folks. You see, when we start to learn, when we take the time, one of the things we're going to learn more than anything else is patience, because we got to enjoy the process. When I was losing all the weight that I lost nearly 200 pounds, I remember my physical therapist that I was going to that was working with me, he said, Daryl, don't worry about how much you lost from last week. Just enjoy the process. So I'm going to leave you with the same advice for this week. Don't worry how fast you learn. Don't worry whether the guy next to you is doing better or worse than you. You enjoy the process of learning to paint. I'm Daryl Crow, and we've had a lot of questions this week. I'd like to see all of your questions. So go ahead and send them to Daryl@darylcrow.com. We have a beautiful painting project we'll send you as our way of saying thank you. And I don't care if the question's been asked before, as you see, we'll re-answer them. Because something that I want you to really, really understand is we want you to be the best possible artist you possibly can be. Because both Joe and I know that, yes, you can paint.